Hello and welcome. My name is Marcin and I'm a software developer. Today we'll be talking about parsing JSON arrays in Java. And you may think about parsing JSON arrays in Java, what's the difficulty here? I can always get my JSON, get my object mapper, and then just declare a list of a given type, and then the JSON will take care of everything, and it will parse a list of integers for me, or a list of strings, or a list of objects. And that's correct in about 90% of the times, but there's also a certain type of a JSON array. If you consider that JSON is native to JavaScript, and JavaScript is not strictly typed, and that there is no enforcement of value types in a JavaScript array, then suddenly you get to the point where this is actually a valid JavaScript or JSON array. So given the JSON solution, what would be the type of the object here? Would it be a list of object? Well, you could go with that, but I say have a nice time casting all those values if you ever need to get the integer part or the string part. Also, the last part is actually a hash map and not a concrete object. So can we do better? Of course we can do better. And today I will show you how. Let's go! Let's start with a simple project that has only the minimum required set of dependencies, namely JSON for parsing JSONs, JUnit Jupyter for testing our parsing, and AssertJ for better assertions. Let's move to our test. I have the sample JSON already defined, and for the first approach we will try to parse it as a collection of objects. So let's create a class to hold the values. We'll just call it wrapper, and it will have only one field, namely it will be a list of objects that we'll call values. And now let's create our first test. Let's name it parses the array to a list of objects. And inside our test, let's create an object mapper. And call our object mapper on the JSON to get our actual value. And now let's assert that our actual value contains exactly, and we are expecting the first item to be the integer, the second item to be the string, and the last one to be a map of two entries. The first entry will be the latitude, and the second entry will be the longitude. And with this, let's just add the required exceptions, and we can run our test. And our test passes, so we know that JSON can parse this kind of array into a list of objects. But we can also do this in a better way. Now, if we ever get such a response from a server, that means that typically on the backend, this is represented as a tuple. So let's try to parse it into a tuple. We will just pull Apache Commons, because they have a defined triple class that will suit our case just fine. Commons lang free. And again, let's create a record for our parsed object. We will call this geolocation, and it will have two fields, both will be double. And to parse this into a triple, we need to define our custom deserializer. So let's start by doing just this. We will call this a triple deserializer. And we need to extend the standard deserializer from JSON. And here we need to pass in the type. So we will just use the triple of an integer and a string and our geolocation. Now let's implement missing methods and add the missing constructor. And now in this deserialize method, we will do all the deserializing logic. So first, let's get a codec. It will come in handy later on from the JSON parser. And let's get the node. And this node will be the actual array that we will parse. Now, if we have that node, now we can start extracting values from this. So the first value is an integer value. And this is node, the first value as integer. The second value will be the same. The next one as text. And for the last one, we need to parse our value, our node. So here we will use codec, and we will use tree to value, our last node, and we want our geolocation class. And now with these three variables, we can return our triple. So the first one was the int value, the second one was the string value, and the last one was the geolocation. So with this, we can now test if our deserializer works. So let's create another record. Let's name it triple wrapper. And this triple wrapper will have only one field, namely a triple values, exactly like our JSON here. So let's do another test. Let's call it deserializes by custom logic, maybe to custom object. And now, before we start deserializing, we need to register our deserializer with JSON. So to do this, we need to create a simple module. And on this module, we need to add a deserializer. For the class, our class is the triple. And our deserializer is our triple deserializer. Now we create our object mapper and register the module. And now our object mapper will use our custom deserializer. So let's do this again. Let's call our object mapper and we want to parse it to our triple wrapper. Again, we need to add the exceptions that will be thrown by JSON, and let's check if our actual values is equal to the triple that we are expecting. So the code that we are expecting is the integer value, the string value, and our geolocation with this and the longitude. So let's check if our test passes. And again, JSON successfully deserialized our array to the given triple. Now this approach has its own drawbacks, namely, as we can see here, we have registered our deserializer on the triple class, which means that if we had some other triples, they will always use the same deserializer, because we cannot pass generics there. The other drawback is that the triple has no information about the context. If we would like to do something with the triple, we get access to fields that are named left, middle, and right, which gives us absolutely no information on the data that's there and what does it represent. So in general, while parsing such tuples, the best solution is to create your own class. So instead of using a triple, we can create our own class. Let's call it volcano. And let's say that the first item is an ID. The second item is the name. And the third item is the location. Now with this record, it's just a matter of simply changing our deserialized method. Now we don't want to use the triple here. We want to use our volcano. And here the result is not a triple anymore, but a volcano. And here, instead of returning the triple, we will just instantiate our class and use our values that we have extracted from the JSON. We also need to make a change here. The deserializer is not on the triple class, but on the volcano class. We can also rename it. It's not a triple deserializer anymore. And now we can check our assertions. And of course our triple wrapper is not a triple wrapper anymore. So let's change the name here also. And let's run our test. The test passes again, and we have the added benefit of our deserializer being registered only on the volcano class. So if we encounter any more triples in our code, in our responses, we can just add another deserializers and it will all work together. What is more, anyone that will use our volcano class now has a good context of what the actual fields mean and can use this without, for example, asking us time by time what the middle field means or what the left field means. Then that is why this is the recommended approach for parsing such arrays. This concludes our video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again on my channel. Thank you and goodbye.